Good morning. So, I want everybody to think about, I want you to raise your hand if you, as a foster care agency or worker, have ever received a phone call on a Monday morning like today that says, hey, Miss Megan, last night was rough. We had a meltdown at bedtime and it was just a lot going on. For many foster families, the bedtime routine is the most one of the most stressful parts of the day. But today I'm bringing you this live, LinkedIn Live, not from a place of we're gonna be transparent. So today this topic is here because last night, guess what? Megan Ham, licensed professional counselor, racial play therapist, parent-child relationship expert, dealt with bedtime behaviors meltdowns last night. And when I tell y'all, we've been on spring break. So once they started happening, I tried to connect and say, okay, we've been on spring break. Our structure has been a little lax. All of the things, all the things that could be going on. And in that moment, it did not change the fact that I was dealing with some meltdowns from two kids. So here we are today because it made me think about in the moment I dealt with it. We all went to bed peaceful, right? But in that moment, it made me think about what are some of the things that our foster families or our foster parents are dealing with, and how can the agency support them? Agencies aren't there 24/7. Let's be real. You're not there 24/7. And it can become overwhelming if you are called 24/7 when things happen. But there's three things that you can do that can support foster families after to help recover from after the bedtime. We're gonna call it a bedtime meltdown, right? So I am Megan Ham, licensed professional counselor, racial play therapist, and parent-child relationship expert. And I partner with foster care agencies to help them support their foster parents with real-time solutions that decrease burnout and placement disruptions. And so today we're going to talk about three trauma-informed strategies that you can use today that can support your foster parents after they have some help them recover from or after they had some behaviors, some meltdown behaviors at night. So the first thing is always we can normalize the behavior, being able to help them understand that bedtime meltdowns are part of a trauma response, and being able to normalize that it's a trauma behavior and not necessarily a thing of you haven't done enough. As a former foster parent, I can tell you that a lot of times we will definitely internalize things and think that we're not doing enough or we're not doing good enough or, oh, I did something wrong or I should have scheduled this better or I should have been prepared. Think about me last night and I'm sitting here like, oh man, I should have planned for because we're getting back into the structure. And I had to quickly get out of my mind about that because normalizing the fact that there may be some bedtime meltdowns. And so being able to help them understand and normalize that. Now, normalizing it doesn't mean that it's going to make it easier to deal with, but it's that awareness and we get to deal with it from a different place, right? Because it's a difference in dealing with a behavior and you think that it's intentional and it's manipulative versus dealing with a behavior that you're like, okay, this is a trauma response. This has nothing to do with me. And so my role, instead of being offended and having to defend my authority in the house, I get to just be there and be a support. So that's the conversation to definitely have with your foster families. Another thing that you can do, and in that, being able maybe to create maybe like a training or something around when bedtime is triggering, or even some very encouraging voice notes, that you can give to the parents so that when they're having that time, they can go back and plan and say, you know what? Hey mama, you know what? That bedtime meltdown was something, but you made it through. You did what you're supposed to do, and it is not about you. It's about where the child is and what they need. So then we talk about, so then the next tip will be being able to have after you have a meltdown, have to been through a meltdown behavior. One of the things I always talk about is being able to rest and reset. And so giving the foster parents some type of, let's call it a reset map or a reset ritual or something like that, that they can do for themselves after a tough night. For me, last night, I journaled, right? I'm a very reflective person. So I definitely journaled, and I journaled about my experience about what I could have done differently, about what I wanted it to look like differently, and trying to pre-plan for next time, right? What is it I could do next time I'm in the same situation? But that's me. But after a difficult bedtime routine, sometimes definitely being able to have the parents that have a way to regulate themselves, to be honest with themselves about where they were, where they want to be, and what's the next plan. Being able to teach parents, right? Teaching your foster parents, regulation activities like, taking some deep breaths, doing a grounding activity, and doing some self care. What is it that you like? Maybe because it's 11 o'clock and it may, hey, how we tell people get a cup of coffee, right? That may not be the thing to do. Having something they can do, it could be some hot tea or just for them that is going to help them be able to regulate. It may be reading a book, it may be watching a few minutes of a show, it may be listening to certain music, it may be listening to some certain motivational speaking, whatever it is that works for them. And so you can encourage them to be able to do that and help them create that rest map, like I talked about, or a reset map or a reset ritual. And so the other thing is, that leads us to tip 3, being able to, for us to be able to support them the next day. And so a lot of it has been, how do we help them after it's all over, being able to support them and say, what is it that we can do? Right? Even just checking in with them and saying, hey, how are you feeling today? How can I support you today? Thinking about going back to them like, okay, what went well? And it may be hard during the storm or right after to think about, well, what went well. But sometimes it could be, hey, I was able to deal with the meltdown, deal with the bedtime meltdown, and I didn't yell, right? That would be my thing for for last night, because in all of the chaos of everything that was going on, I was able to keep myself calm and I did not yell. And no matter how it looked on the outside, no matter what else was going on, I had to celebrate that for me, right? And I'm going to continue to celebrate that today, that I didn't yell last night, right? And also being able to think about things that, what is it that you need for the next one? And so if your agency is ready to be able to implement these trauma-informed strategies to create a full strategy plan for the typical behaviors that you see, or the ways that you can support your foster parents, please send me a DM. I would love to be able to partner with you so that I can support you and support a system that works, so that your foster parents feel supported, which increases the likelihood that so the agency is able to support the foster parents so that the foster parents are able to support the kids, right? So in closing, just thinking about how can we, one, normalize the behavior, not giving an excuse for it, but just normalizing it, being able to teach them how to reset. What is it that they're going to do for themselves? And also, how do we follow up and check in and make sure that we're giving them the support that they need?